Hello and welcome to tonight's programme. We have various topics to cover, and indeed in the studio we have got plenty of studio guests in here tonight. I want to ask our panel first and foremost about Sammy Wilson's amazing photographs that were appearing in a Sunday newspaper, namely the Sunday World. Was it right for them to publish them or not? Jerry Adams, I want to ask you first and foremost.
Well, I think it just shows the hypocrisy of Sammy Wilson and the DUP. He was the one that voted in favour of barring nude bathing on nude beaches in Northern Ireland and Ireland. And for him to run about with his magic wand hanging about as an insult to his party faithful.
Right, Ian Paisley, what's your view on this?
Well, let me say that Jerry Adams has the audacity to say that Sammy Wilson is a hypocrite, when in actual fact, he's the biggest hypocrite here. I mean, he told us 22 months ago that there was a ceasefire. Then the next thing is, he tells the boys to take their suits off and put their working clothes on, i.e. their balaclavas, and go and blow up the Canary Wharf.
Excuse me, Dr. Paisley. I didn't say anything like that at all. I told them to keep their suits on. I was not involved at all in that crisis. I never knew that bomb was taking place.
Right, well, Dr. Paisley, we'll cover that issue in a while, but back to Sammy Wicked Wilson. Did these nude photographs affect your votes in the last election in May?
No, they certainly did not affect the votes at all. They affected Rhonda, though, the daughter, because she put a couple of the pictures of Sammy Wilson on her dartboard and threw a couple of darts into his private parts, prick to prick, if you know what I mean.
Well, I don't see how she could actually put darts on his prick, Dr. Paisley, when it was clearly censored.
Well, as you know, Mr. Cole, there was 3 negatives missing, and we'll not say any more about that.
Right, well, Jerry Fitt, I want to ask you, do you think the press was right to publish these photos?
Oh, fuck, aye. I wish I had been taking the photographs. Mind you, you'd have needed a steady hand, and I don't think I'd have been able to manage it there, to be honest with you.
Right, well, do you think it affected the votes, though, for the DUP?
Well, who would vote for that bum there? I mean, he's just an arsehole. He shouldn't have been running around with his bollocks hanging out anyway. He hasn't got what would tickle a mouse, for God's sake.
But the fact that he was over in France, Lord Fitt, on holidays, does that not lighten matters a bit for him?
No, it does not. I don't see why he's running around naked. It doesn't matter where you're filling about. He let the people of Northern Ireland down and his party down.
Right, well, that's okay. John Hume, what's your opinion on this whole escapade?
So long as it does not cause offence. If Sammy Wilson wants to run around naked, that's up to Sammy. But in causing offence to people, then I think he needs to keep his clothes on. Don't forget, all our people have to respect each other's traditions. We all have to live on this island as one.
For fuck's sake, somebody turn that slurry pit off, for God's sake.
Right, now, we want to interview Dick Spring. Dick Spring, would this sort of behaviour be accepted in the south of Ireland if politicians were to run around stark naked?
Certainly not. I think they're very respectable politicians, and indeed, if that sort of carry-on was to take place, then that politician would be removed from the office without hesitation.
Well, let me tell you this, Dickie. Let me remind you, son, when George Hawkey, the then Prime Minister, was doing his gun-running act, nobody was too quick to put him out of his office. Why was that?
Well, to be honest, I was not aware of that sort of thing taking place, and I'm sure he was doing it with his clothes on anyway.
Well, let me tell you here. Let me say this to you. You're the only one that didn't know. But I suggest that you're telling lies. I mean, I'll tell you now, we couldn't expect anything else from a Dublin government aid.
Now, Dr. Paisley, we're talking about Sammy Wilson here and not Charles Hawkey.
I'm fed up talking about him. It's been a pain in my backside and my daughter's backside for too long, and I don't mean that literally, of course. We're just fed up with him.
Right, well, Jerry Fitt, it's a matter of keeping your clothes on, isn't it?
Here, hold on a minute. I never took my fucking clothes off.
No, I mean Sammy Wilson.
Oh, yes, so I keep them on, them will all be happy. Let me tell you something, I would never have done that there.
Well, let me tell you something, Jerry. You couldn't afford to go to France in the first place to strip.
Let's just settle it down here, gentlemen. We have Sir Patrick Mayhew, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland here. Sir Patrick Mayhew, would you run about bollock naked in France?
No, I certainly would not. And why should I run about bollock naked in France when I can run about bollock naked in England? When you're in the public eye, and I don't mean that literally, when you're in the public eye, you will have more focused more focus upon you by the British media, the radio and the press, etc.
Surely, Sir Patrick, the press or the media never took those photographs of Sammy Wilson. Obviously, Sammy had a camera with a 10-second or a 12-second delay, and before they actually took the photograph, he went and posed, and therefore he took the photographs himself.
Well, in that case, that's his own fucking fault, and I have no sympathy for a man who's meant to represent the Democratic Unionist Party. If he wants to run around bollock naked, then that's fucking his problem.
Jerry Adams, do you think Sammy Wilson should remain or will remain in the DUP?
Well, I don't know, and I don't care, but I do know what the new DUP stands for, and that is Democrats undress publicly.
Right, now, on a final note, Dr. Paisley, do you think the press should have published photos of Sharon Rivers also? I thought it was a bit unfair.
Yes, of course, because she must have known the risks involved in flashing her jerry fits in public.
You're fucking hell on. Keep me here to this.
Willie McCrame, I'm going to ask you, why do you think Sammy took his clothes off?
Well, it's certainly very hot in the south of France.
Do you think the DUP should have reprimanded Sammy Wilson for this?
Certainly not. It's not the DUP that's selling Ulster down the river. It's David Trimble and the Ulster Unionist.
Willie, fuck's sake, stick to singing for fuck's sake.
I think you'd do a better job if you stuck to singing instead of coming off with the same old rhetoric all the time.
Who do you think you're talking to, Mr. Adams? I'm not sitting here with a gun in my hand under the table.
Nor am I.
Right now, come on, gentlemen, for fuck's sake, settle it down a bit. John Hume, try and sort this out.
Right, what we need here is dialogue from both sections of our communities. Both traditions need to respect each other's opinions and culture, and we must move forward.
To the fucking white Martin Luther King. I went and get a haircut, you scruffy git. If you can't manage your hair, your throat will do nicely if you want to get both of them cut. It'll do me all right.
Come on now, gentlemen, this is getting a little bit out of order. Right now, we're going to move away from the politicians and speak to Barry McGuigan. Barry McGuigan, obviously you've been affected by the press in more ways than one. Do you think this will have a strain on Sammy Wilson?
Well, I was straining to see what it was he had in those photographs. It's bound to have an effect on Sammy because, I mean, I wouldn't like everyone to see my burrows.
Fuck's sake, we'll have a fucking case here, alright? A fucking nutcase.
Chris Eubank, you have had bad press as well. The press have invaded your privacy. How do you think Sammy Wilson feels about these photographs and that?
Well, let me say this here, that I feel very sorry for Sammy Wilson because he decided to sue a newspaper because his penis is too small. The fact that if Sammy Wilson had a big penis, he wouldn't have sued the newspapers because I think he's just embarrassed, and that's why he's decided to sue the newspaper.
So, I ask you, Chris, if you were in the south of France on holiday with a big school teacher such as Shan, would you have went bollock naked?
Well, let me say this here. I don't think my wife Sandra would have allowed me to do this because she would have objected very strongly.
Well, I think we've said enough on this issue, but just food for thought. Sammy Wilson brings a whole new meaning to the school dinner spanking sessions, as I'm sure you've all read about. He's the one that objected to the light-hearted fun and entertainment being dished out, and indeed got the boot into Sandy Blair and Junior Walker over this incident. But I think both of these gentlemen have had the last laugh. Do you?